In this video, I'm going to show the Pocket Computer Universal Interface, or PCUI, which is this device here, working with the Casio FX-702P. But first, a little explanation as to what the Pocket Computer Universal Interface is for, or otherwise known as the PCUI for short. This device is intended to provide a printer and cassette storage alternative interface to vintage pocket computers and calculators. And the reason for that is just because some of these printers are hard to find, and some of them are rather costly if you can find them, and some of them take paper, which is nearly impossible to get today, such as the aluminum coated paper that comes with the Spark printer for this series of pocket computers. So this device, the PCUI, provides a printer interface to more modern printers and also storage to the built-in micro SD card. So let's see how this works. So this is a very early prototype. By the time this video is posted, I will have likely posted the information on where to get the parts to build this kit, and also a updated board revision. But more on that later. Okay, so let me demonstrate a little bit first on what this device, the PCUI, does for this particular pocket computer. So this is Casio's first basic programmable pocket computer. This is kind of a step up from the FX-602P, which is a step up from the 502P. And this was Casio's first basic programmable pocket computer. And this on the side is a 7-pin interface or expansion port for connecting to the cassette recorder for storing and loading programs, as well as to the printer, the Spark printer that I mentioned. And this is the cassette interface. These are not too difficult to find. The printer is not all that difficult to find, but the paper for the printer, which I mentioned earlier, is aluminum coated. It's like a very thin coating of aluminum, and the printer actually sparks and technically burns off the outer layer of aluminum, exposing the black ink or the black paper behind that aluminum coating. So this paper, I would be surprised if you could ever find any of that these days. So the idea is that this PCUI will provide the printer interface for this model, as well as several others which I've demonstrated in other videos. So the first thing I'll demonstrate is I will go to the programming mode here, and I'm going to clear out, I have two programs in there, I'm going to clear out these programs. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. I think it's new all. Nope, I think it's clear all. Let's see if that works. No. We'll try clear. And that's not it either. Let's try new. Of course, they all work differently. Let's try CLR. Okay, CLR. All right, so mode 1. Now this model is interesting because the print command is like PRT instead of print, and some of the commands are a little bit different. So I'll do clear on this one. Actually, got to go to program 1. We'll clear out this program. Okay. And then what I will do is go back to program 0. I'm going to type load. So I'm going to demonstrate how to load a program that I've stored on SD card here from a previous save. And I'm going to load that into the pocket computer here. So I'm going to press load here. And then the screen here on the PCUI is going to provide an input as to whether we're going to load a basic program or variables. So basic or data. So I'll choose basic, and I'll load the banner program here. We can see on the pocket computer that the program file is labeled banner. And that is it. It is loaded. So the other thing I'm going to do is load the bitmap data, which I have stored in variables. And rather than type that in, I can go ahead and do a get. So I could load the variables from tape as well. So I'll get. I don't really care about the file name, but I want to load the special variable here, A through A37. I'll go ahead and press enter. Okay. And then on the PCUI, this time I'll select data, press enter, and I'll load the data here. And we could see that the variable file called data is being loaded. And that's loaded. So now I have my program that was loaded from the micro SD card. Likewise, what I could do is I could also save. I'll show you that real quick. So from the home screen here, I'll go ahead and type save. And I'll call this test. And before I press enter here, I'll pan over to the PCUI. And the Pocket computer is sending it, and we've received the entire file. And now that test program has been saved to the micro SD card. A little bit faster than tape, I would say. Okay, so saving and loading programs to and from SD card from this model, and that includes variables as well. So now what I'll demonstrate is the printer feature of the PCUI. So I have the PCUI connected. I'm going to press the printer mode here. So now this is emulating the printer interface. And I have this connected to a serial port version of one of these. This is a Epson point-of-sale receipt printer. I've mentioned this on previous videos. These are rather inexpensive for what they are on the used marketplace. The paper is so incredibly cheap and inexpensive. So this is an excellent alternative for printing calculations, etc. More so than perhaps the paper and printer that these originally came with. So, I've been using this parallel version. I've got a USB version, a serial version. These are really inexpensive used. So anyhow, this is a serial version. So I have it connected through this wire that's going underneath to the serial port here on the PCUI. And I've configured the PCUI to work with the Epson on the RS-232 or serial port. So this is currently going to take any data it receives from the calculator here, the FX-702P, and it's going to direct it to the thermal printer. So I have a demo program here. It's a banner program. So I will go to the run mode here, type run, and it's going to prompt letter by letter. It's just a limitation of this device and what I can do with it. So I'm going to type the letters PCUI, one after the other, and press the enter key each time. And what'll happen is, as it's printing to the screen here, we've turned on the printer emulation as well. And it's a little bit slow, but it does print. As it's printing to the screen, it's echoing to the printer. So I type the letter P. Okay, and then it's prompting me for the next letter, so I'll type C, press enter. And again, we can see the pattern being displayed on the LCD, which we have the printer echo turned on, so it will also go to the thermal printer here. Okay, and then I'm going to type U, press enter. And again, got to wait for it to start printing that. And this is just the X character for the pattern. And then I'll type I. Okay, I'll form feed that a little bit so you can see it. And we have the PCUI printed out. Now, this also works if I were to, again, break out of the program here, and I have, let's say, mode 7 will turn on the printer. So you can see here we have the PRT icon on. So anything on the screen will be echoed to the attached printer. And so, for example, if I do some calculations, we'll do a very simple one here, 1 plus 1, and then divide by 3 times 3.14159. And I will then scroll up here, form feed a little bit. And again, we can see it's very similar to the output you would have gotten on the Spark printer. But again, this thermal printer, much more widely available these days, and far less expensive for the paper, if you could even find the aluminum paper, that is. So again, I was really excited to get this working because although I have the printer, I do have paper for it. There may be others that have the same model that would like to print but don't have the printer and or the paper. And even if you had the paper, you know that's a limited supply. So this is a great alternative. And so that's printing to a thermal printer. I also have a dot matrix printer. So of a similar vintage. This obviously is more modern, but if you really wanted to get nostalgic and print to a dot matrix printer, we can do that. So what I will do is I will stop the printer mode here. I'll go into the settings. I will change the printer to, we'll change it to a generic printer. And the port, we'll change it over to parallel instead of serial. I'll go back to the home screen, turn on the printer mode, and we'll continue some calculations. So I could, again, multiply that by 5. And we'll see the printout just below that. And just for entertainment purposes here, I will turn off the printer mode. I'll run the banner program again. And we'll do a P again, then C, then U, then I. So this is going to print again to the screen. And then that'll echo to the printer. Okay, I'll type C. And U. What's interesting about this model is it's the letters are just in alphabetical order here before they figured out the QWERTY type format. So the layout's not ideal. And then the last letter, I. Okay, let's put the line up a little bit here so we can see the printouts fairly clear. And this ribbon isn't the best, but certainly the dot matrix printer also works. This is a parallel port printer. Now, one thing to note is the width of the printout is somewhat limited by the original printer that came with this. I can't recall off the top of my head what the character width of the printout was, but the original printer, again, to kind of compare the size of the paper here, the original printer used paper that was that wide. So again, you're limited to the width of the printout, just like we are here, but still it's a better alternative to printing on these. So there it is. Again, I was mostly excited for getting this model working. The other Casios and Sharps had thermal printers, and that paper is still widely available and inexpensive, but for this particular model, it was quite a bit of excitement getting that working, because again, even though I have some of the paper, if I wanted to print or experiment or play around with this printer, I would always worry about running out of that paper. So by the time this is posted, there should be a revision of the hardware, a special interface pack for this connector, as well as, unfortunately, I started with this model last. I should have started with this model first, because I had a TTL level outputs here for the other Pocket computers. And this one, I had to tack on some bodge wires here to tap right off the CMOS level inputs on the Pico. So the next board revision has the CMOS level interface pack connection. So you have either or, depending on the calculator model or computer model. And that is it for the FX-702P as an example. I will be demoing the, let's see, what's the other one? The 602P and the 502P as well. Although, again, not basic programmable, you can print with those. It's not as convenient, but it is possible with the PCUI. Okay, this is the Casio, let's see, FX-602P. I have a 502P as well. And the same 7-pin expansion connector here. Again, going to the PCUI, which is in the same mode earlier, in the printer mode. And I am going to make sure that I have the printer set to Epson serial RS-232. Okay, printer mode is enabled. So in this model, the printer mode is not really an echo where you can turn on like mode 7 and any calculation goes to the screen and the printer. The way this one works is a little bit different. So for example, if I had a number on the screen as a result of a calculation, I press a combination of keys, inverse, save, inverse, exe, and what's on the screen then goes to the printer. This is numbers mode. So, for example, that's what the output looks like on the FX-602P. And again, the PCUI, if I were to save from here, or program, it's not basic, but program and register contents, I can save them to here on the PCUI. The process is a little bit different. I would have to press the save mode on here so that it doesn't, because when saving from this device, it doesn't have a command to say printer versus tape as the 702P does. So for example, when you save with that combination inverse save, inverse exe, it's going to the printer because I'm in printer mode. If I hit save here and save variable contents or registers, that will also go to the printer. So what I need to do is just make sure this is on a save mode here and captures that to a file. And then that way it could be loaded back into the 602P. So it's a little bit more more combination of modes and button presses for this. And that's the same thing with the tape interface as well. You had to turn that on, the tape MT mode on the cassette adapter, which I think I still have over here. I have the FA-2, but I also have the FA-1. Let's see if I can get this with one hand here. So this is the FA-1, and you can see that's got the save load switch there. And the FA-2 is the same, but it has a mechanical tape option as well as a printer on-off option, because again, that's intended for these non-702P models that didn't have a get, put versus load save. So tape versus, I'm sorry, not get, load, save, it's variables and programs, but it didn't have a different command out to direct to the printer versus the mechanical tape, so, or magnetic tape, MT. So yeah, this provides a alternative to the FP-10. The PCUI also works with the 602P. Okay, and this is a demo of the FX-702P connected to the original printer, the Casio FP-10. This is the Spark printer. I have some aluminum coated paper in here, and I have the printer is on, and I'll demonstrate how this original printer worked. So instead of the PCUI connected, I have the original printer connected here, and I'll turn on mode 7 for the printer, so you can see the printer icon is lit up here, And if I type in some characters here, and I do like a simple calculation, I'll pin over here, press enter, and we can see I'll do some more. I'll say divided by 3, and then I'll press enter here. Let's see if I can get this without the light reflecting. Okay. So again, you can see how clear that was. Now there was some text already on here. I don't want to use too much of this paper because it's unobtainium these days. But you can see that line there is pretty clear. That coating, the contrast between the aluminum and the black paper underneath is rather clear there. That's a little bit better than the thermal printers. And so we can see, again, a little bit more of the writing below there. But again, this is an example of even if you find these printers, the paper is really next to impossible to find. It just isn't made, it hasn't been made for a long time, as opposed to thermal paper, which again, I have printers for the Casios that, and Sharps that have small printers, and you can still get the thermal paper for those. But anyhow, that's how the original printer worked with the FX-702P, the 602P, and the 502, and similar models in that line. They all used the FP-10. And again, this printer can connect through the cassette interface as well. So you can connect all of them, all 3 devices together.